number 16, Jazmyn Wheeler.
There it is.
Wheeler.
Forget it.
Great kill by Jazmyn Wheeler.
Jazmyn Wheeler.
Jazmyn Wheeler.
Point to the Jaguars and a kill for Jazmyn Wheeler.
Jazmyn Wheeler.
Now out to Wheeler.
Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week 6 times.
And when you need a championship point, when you need a set point, it's going to be number 16.
You never know until you try, so I really just committed, went for it, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. I'm Jazmyn Wheeler. I am originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Play volleyball here at Augusta and hoping to graduate in December of 24. Sports just became a part of my life since birth. Me and my mom always likes to tell a story that literally she left the hospital with me after being pregnant with me. We left and went straight to my brother's baseball game. Sports, I just grew up with it. My brother played multiple sports. I played multiple sports. I started with soccer and t-ball. Then I got really into tennis. Tennis was probably the first sport that I really took seriously. Then probably when I was like a teenager, maybe a little bit before, I had a trainer and everything, and he basically told me that I had to make a decision if I wanted to do this for real and take it seriously. I'd have to be homeschooled, practice 5-6 hours every single day. So it was just a really big commitment, and it was just not one that we were ready to make. So then I tried volleyball and ended up falling in love with volleyball. But then really in high school is when I started focusing mostly on volleyball. I played travel ball. I was very successful there. I was on a really good team, made a lot of good friends. I was just surrounded by a lot of good volleyball players, and I feel like that's what really shaped me into being the player that I am today. And so I would say the hardest part was going from JUCO to actually moving to go to my first school, Cal Poly Pomona, when I transferred. That was probably the biggest jump, just from obviously living at home to not living at home. I was still close enough, like 4 or 5 hour drive away. But yeah, I would just say making that transition was a little bit harder for me than I would say going straight from high school to college. I transferred from Cal Poly Pomona. I decided to enter the transfer portal in December. It just really was not a good fit for me. I wasn't in a very good place mentally, emotionally. So I just decided to kind of take a breather from volleyball. So I really didn't touch a ball from January until I would say June. So it was a solid 5-6 months where I just needed a break, needed a refresher, needed to take time for myself, and really needed to decide if I wanted to continue playing. Through those months, I really just knew that I wasn't ready to give it all up. I knew I still wanted to compete. I knew the person I am was just not ready to give that up. And so I kind of just decided randomly. I went back through all my emails when I was first in the transfer portal, and Augusta was definitely, it was either the first or second school to reach out to me. And obviously with Alexis Diaz-Infante, I went to JUCO with her. She was here, and so I reached out to her. Within 4 days, I decided, you know what, they offered me. I came out here. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks before I actually had to move here. So I had no turnaround time to really process anything. And so I feel like I just kind of went out on a limb and was like, you know what, it's now or never. And I feel like you either love it or you hate it. And obviously you don't know until you get there. I mean, I thought Cal Poly Pomona on paper was going to be my perfect fit for me. It was close to home. California is very similar to Arizona, and it was the complete opposite. Definitely knowing Alexis, like that kind of helped break that little initial barrier. But I also just think that my teammates were so welcoming. We had a lot of new people. We had, I think, 9 new people that year. So I just knew I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only newbie here. So I think we all just kind of clicked. And I think that, I mean, even when I tell everybody here, I'm like, the one thing that I love here is just the community, the girls on the team, like everyone gets along. We have no issues. There's no drama. Like everything just flowed, and, you know, I'm grateful for that. Last year, I was injured in the very first tournament, so I didn't get to play in the preseason tournament when we went to Florida Southern. And I think that that's really hard for me because I'm just not a player that wants to sit out or enjoy sitting out. And so I think really sitting back and watching the whole team, I mean, obviously it was early in the season. We're still learning each other, still learning how to play next to each other. Sitting back and watching, I knew what I needed to do. I knew the role I wanted to play on this team. And after sitting back and watching, I really just kind of stepped in. The moment I was cleared, I was ready to go. This year, I've never felt better. I'm jumping higher than I've ever jumped. I'm hitting harder than I've ever hit. And so I really just like watching how I've evolved. And I really just think between last year and this year, like I look like a senior out there, and it's really cool to watch. My volleyball IQ has increased. I think that's something that I take a lot of pride in, is that I know I'm not the biggest player on the court. I'm not the fastest. I don't jump the highest, but I know that volleyball, there's a good way to play it if you're really smart. And so I try to play more of smart volleyball rather than powerful volleyball or whatever you want to call it. So I just think that my IQ, I constantly want to grow on the court, whether it's just being smart, keeping shots in, working on my versatility, all that. I mean, volleyball has taught me a lot for sure. I think that I've been faced with a lot of challenges just with recruiting and everything. It's never been easy for me. That's from high school, that's from being in the transfer portal in college. And so I just think that constantly just being confident in myself, knowing my worth on the court, I just think that I'm always an underdog, and I like being the underdog, and I like proving people wrong. And we always tell each other, like, we love proving people wrong. I always say my motto is just getting 1% better. And I think sometimes, you know, obviously we have our off days, we have days where we don't feel nearly as good, but even if it's not getting 1% better physically, it's getting 1% better mentally. And so I would constantly tell myself, just keep grinding. And I feel like that's the difference that I have seen in myself, especially in the last 2 years, is that even when we're having off days, like I'm still going to the gym, I'm still getting those extra reps. So really just continue to grind, and that it really does pay off, and it's showing right now. I try to be a leader on the court. I'm not very vocal on the court, but I try to lead in other areas, whether it's just talking to somebody one-on-one, giving them my advice, giving whatever they need in that moment. I just think that a lot of people see me as very like intimidating or very kind of closed off, and I try not to be. I just want to be a good person and somebody that somebody can look up to. I mean, we have like still a couple girls that are pretty young on my team, and so I just think being a role model for them and giving them something to look forward to in their next couple of years here, like that's definitely something that I always keep in the back of my mind. Obviously, I'm never going to be done. I'm never going to be ready to kind of hang up my knee pads, you know. I definitely would consider playing beach volleyball. I have competed in beach a couple times. I had one partner in high school that we would play in tournaments on the weekends. Junior and senior year of high school, we actually got a beach team, so I got to compete through my high school, which was really nice. I had two really good partners both years, and so it was pretty successful. But there just wasn't enough money for me to play beach in college, at least for all 4 years. But now that I only have a year of eligibility, that's kind of opened that up a little bit more. But yeah, I'd love to play beach 1 year. We'll see how that goes. And then I've had a little bit of thought about playing overseas. We'll see. I'm not sold on it yet, but I do think it'd be a great experience. And I kind of just want to see how things unfold. I mean, I'm a huge believer in everything plays out how it's supposed to play out. And so I'm kind of just going with the flow, and we'll see where it goes.